Today we build Star Wars binoculars. Welcome to Backyard Filmmaking. I'm your host Chris. In this week's episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to build some Star Wars binoculars. Both the Rebels and the Galactic Empire have used this tool throughout the entire Star Wars saga. This build takes a lot of patience, but if you have enough determination, you will get an amazing product. For this build, you will need a lot of thin cardboard, along with some white spray paint, black spray paint or black acrylic paint, a white box that is similar to the shape of the binoculars, two 1-inch PVC couplings, one 1/4-inch PVC coupling, a hot glue gun along with some hot glue sticks, scissors or a tool to cut your cardboard, and various caps that are similar to those on the binoculars. I recommend glue and water bottle caps or even wooden buttons. Obviously, a lot of the objects here already have the color that we want. For instance, the box is already white, a lot of the caps are already white as well, and one cap is also black, which is what we want. In addition, if you have not yet spray painted a lot of your items, I suggest doing that as well, although don't do the extremely detailed painting quite yet. When I say detailed painting, I mean the intricate designs are on some of the caps, such as this one, which is towards the left of a pair of binoculars on a reference photo I found. The very first component that we will be making is the visor that is over the eyepieces. We will be using some thin cardboard for this process. I would just like to say that for the remainder of the video, I will be using this reference photo. I will leave the link in the description if you would like to use the same one so I can give credit to the artist. As you can see, there are two sections to the visor. We will start off by making the one that I have color-coded red. To do this, I will be cutting two pieces that are triangular, one small square piece, and one longer rectangular piece. For this step, I will be using some thin cardboard along with some scissors. The size of these pieces will vary for everyone. It really depends on the size of your box. Keep them proportionate for the best results. Now that we have our pieces created, we can glue them together in accordance to the reference picture. Now, we will be moving on to creating the second visor. This one is larger and above the first visor. The basis to creating the second visor is to make nearly identical pieces as the first visor, just larger. Like I previously stated, these pieces are extremely similar to that of the first visor, although they are a little bit longer. Now, I will glue the pieces together, just like I did with the first component of the visor. I now have both visor pieces created. I am now ready to spray paint them with some white paint. When spray painting, always remember to do so in a well-ventilated area. As the visor pieces dry, we will be creating yet another component of the binoculars. The two black bars in between the eye holes will be created using some thin cardboard along with some black spray paint or black acrylic paint. As seen in the reference picture, one black bar is larger than the other. I will be taking this into account when cutting out the shapes. With the two pieces cut out, it is now your decision to use either black spray paint or black acrylic paint to paint them. For myself, I will be using black spray paint. If you decide to use spray paint for this process, remember to do so in a well-ventilated area. As the pieces continue to dry, I will start work on the cap that we mentioned before towards the left of the binoculars. I'll be using a white water bottle cap for this, then using black acrylic paint to paint on the design. Here's a tip: if you're having trouble using black acrylic paint, use a Sharpie marker instead. This allows for a lot more precision. To create the next component, which is the triangular area with the centerpiece, it's really your choice. You can use material like EVA foam, thick cardboard, or thin cardboard. It's really up to you. For myself, I'll be using a marker to draw up the design on some thick cardboard, cutting that out, and then gluing a cap that is similar to the one depicted on the reference picture into the center of the triangle. Before you glue anything onto this shape, make sure it is painted white. When spray painting, remember to do so in a well-ventilated area. With the piece now painted, we can glue the cap into the center of the shape. We now have yet another component of our binoculars complete. The next component we have to create are the several different lines that are apparent on the binoculars. On the reference photo, there seems to be about 10 grooves on the top of the binoculars. I will be making 10 thin cardboard strips, then spray painting them white. With the 10 strips cut out, I will now be spray painting them white. Now, I'll be moving on to creating the highlight area. For this, I'll be using a glue stick cap painted black and a water bottle cap painted white. I'll be using a hot glue gun to glue the two pieces together. After gluing these two pieces together, we can finally begin to work on the other side of the binoculars. Before we continue working on the other side of the binoculars, it should be noted that there are a few more pieces that are now visible that we did not take into account earlier in the video. For example, the triangle piece we had worked on earlier does have an extra back piece. If you would like to make this, feel free to do so. It should also be noted that there is a small red line on the cap that we had previously put on to our white water bottle cap. If you would like to use red acrylic or a different red paint to add this on, feel free to do so. Without further ado, let's get into what we'll be using for the different areas on the other side of the binoculars. For the area which I have outlined green, I will be using this cap. It's quite similar to the size depicted. The next area we will be discussing is the one outlined in red. For this, I will be using a bottle cap spray painted white and a button also spray painted white. This does not have the design that it does on the reference photo. To give it this design, I will be using a Sharpie marker. Once I had colored on the design and glued the button onto the cap, I had this. Now we finished the other side of the binoculars. And yes, we have not yet glued in any of the PVC, but that step will arrive once we're assembling the binoculars. The last few pieces we need to make are about 10 more of the thin white cardboard strips for underneath our binoculars. I feel that it should be noted that as I began to look at different angles of the binoculars, I realized that the center strip on both the top and bottom was always a half of the standard strip. With my strips now cut out, I'll be spray painting them with some white spray paint. Make sure to do this in a well-ventilated area. With all of our components built, we can finally begin assembling our binoculars. The first area I will be assembling is the front. You will not only need your white cap with designs on it, black cardboard pieces, and visors from earlier, but also your two 1-inch PVC couplings. These will serve as our eye holes. I suggest tracing the couplings onto the front of your box, then cutting the pieces out and gluing the eye pieces in. Be careful during this step, and make sure you glue neatly. Afterwards, glue on the rest of your front pieces in accordance to the reference picture. Using a little bit of dirt, I took this opportunity to do a small bit of weathering on the front of our binoculars. After you have that done, you can begin to glue all of the top components on. These include the triangular piece, the glue stick atop the bottle cap, and your first set of strips. With the front and top of the binoculars assembled, we can now move on to the back. For this, you will need your large cap, your 1/4 inch PVC coupling, and your cap along with the button and its design. Now, we can finally move on to the last step, gluing the rest of our strips to the bottom of our binoculars. And after all of that hard work, you're finished. You have your very own pair of Star Wars binoculars. This prop is perfect for any of your Star Wars cosplays, short films, or even as a display item in your collection. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Backyard Filmmaking. Don't be afraid to hit that like button or even subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future builds, tell us in the comments below, and thanks for watching!